everyone. We are here to talk some Week 17 kickers. Honestly, heading into this week, there's a lot of question marks. I feel like the kickers are actually some of the most consistent pieces we have right now. So how's it going, Denny? What do you think of this week?
Good, good. First of all, I can't believe this is the last one we'll do. It feels like just yesterday when we were doing week one kickers, and now it's basically over. So you're right though. I think that there are some decent week 17 kicker options. I would say as a rule, I I have no interest in kickers attached to offenses that may or may not have their starters in the whole game. Because I mean, it's hard to project kickers in the first place, but you just don't know. I mean, you just don't know what an offense is going to do with their second and third team players in there. So if it becomes clear by Friday or Saturday morning or even Sunday morning that a team is just going to mail it in, I'd say get off that kicker and jump onto one of these that we'll mention here.
And this is something me and Jason were stressing most of the week. Like, yeah, we're giving you these plays on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, but honestly, this week is like partially preseason. It's honestly
Yeah.
kind of like that where you really don't know who's going to play more than a half. I know it came out today that the Giants might only be playing a half today or this
Yeah.
week. So, that type of stuff is certainly, really important
Well,
for us
it's
in
weird. It's worse
construction.
than preseason because at least in preseason, you can usually assume that both teams will just sprinkle in their starters and then second and third team guys. But here you have some teams who will be playing all out, for their playoff lives, and then you
Mhm.
have other teams who are either locked into a seed or locked out of the playoffs, and they have no interest in trying and no reason to risk their guys. So I would say preseason is probably easier than week 17.
It's wild. Yeah, it really is wild. Now let's get into the first play here. One team we know that will be gunning to the very end. Andrew Luck and the Colts versus the Jags. 5,200 for Vinatieri. What are you looking at there?
Yeah, Vinatieri is not that high up the ranks in opportunity this year, which is rare if you look back at previous seasons when Andrew Luck is healthy and playing most of the season or even all of the season, which I guess is not usual these days for Andrew
Mhm.
Luck. But Vinatieri, so he's attempted 2.28 field goals when the Colts win this season. So they come into week 17 as a 6-point home favorite against the shell of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so that 2.28 number I think is key here if you think that Indianapolis will win first of all, and also will live up to the lofty expectations of Vegas's implied point total for the Colts. That's the case, basically for Vinatieri. 5,200 is steep, like we say every week. I mean, I've struggled to really get him into a lineup without making like a brutal decision at tight end, say. So I'm not overly I'm not trying to really jam him into lineups, but if you want to go with a high price guy, he's the guy.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with high-priced kickers in general. Like I tend to sprinkle them in, but when you got guys that are 4,500 and are good values, or in that mid-range, it does make it a lot easier sometimes.
Yeah.
So certainly in the roster construction though. Dustin Hopkins against the Giants, just a weird game. I mean,
Mhm.
this is just a weird game. So I guess I'll ask you what you view on the kickers.
It's so weird. It's worth saying twice. It's a weird game.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
weird game.
weird game, man.
Uh, yeah. So I actually wrote a lot about Hopkins this week because I just kept finding statistical nuggets, if you will, showing that he is a fantastic play this week, as he has been for many weeks in 2016. Um, First of all, the Giants allow, I believe, the second most now field goal tries per game. Last time Hopkins played the Giants, he scored 19 fantasy points. I did not check if I had him in the column that week, but we'll just say I did for now.
Yeah. We'll say you did. Yeah.
Yeah, and no one
Yeah.
check, please. And also this now this is a something that really grabbed my attention because when I look at kicker win-loss splits, and this is something I like to explore a little bit this off season, is Hopkins has the same number of field goal tries in losses as he does in wins, and that is very rare. If you look down the list, even of very successful kickers this season, you'll see that when their teams lose, they are not trying nearly as many kicks as they do when they win. So Washington should win this game unless disaster strikes, I suppose. So he's a solid play all the way around.
Yeah, I like that call. And, Kirk Cousins, he's going to be throwing it around, kind of like Luck, kind of like Drew Brees. They don't care that it's week 17 and like things are weird. They're just going to keep gunning till the end. So,
Yeah, and if you're afraid of the Giants defense improving, I would say that they're probably not going to roll out.
yeah,
There's if the reports are true, I can't imagine them going all out with their defensive starters either.
agreed. Exactly. So they're probably going to start subbing guys in the second half as well. Graham Gano against the Bucks. This is a game where I really think it could go either way. Carolina's had a tough season, but they might want to end on a good note. Gano, obviously a talented guy, 4,800 against the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had mentioned in the article that I am much more bullish on Dustin Hopkins at 4,800, and Gano is also 4,800. I will say that Gano will likely have very low ownership in week 17, whereas I would think that Hopkins will have pretty high ownership. As he has many weeks. We're talking about Hopkins is the league. I'll try that again. The league leader in field goal attempts, and people know that it's not a secret between you and me, unfortunately. But Gano is a decent option. He hasn't been great on the road this year, and the Panthers are at Tampa. That's part of my hesitation. But Tampa's giving up 2.1 field goal tries per game, and kickers have scored 38 points, fantasy points. Kickers have scored 38 fantasy points against the Bucks over the past 3 weeks. That is a lot. So
that's a lot.
If that trend continues, I like Gano to have a ceiling. Honestly, it's more than just a floor play, I believe. But he is, I would say, more of like a contrarian kicker play, if there's such a thing.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, like a tournament swerve. And on FanDuel, that's actually been hitting the last few weeks. So interesting move there. And our guy, low price play, Robert Aguayo, 4,500. Things are turning around for this guy,
I think it was probably week 3 or 4 where I actually told you on this show, I said, if I ever recommend Roberto Aguayo, I need you to immediately delete the podcast and tell me to delete my Twitter account. And now this is the 4th week in a row, I believe, that I'm touting the Bucks kicker. His overall numbers are pretty dismal because of his horrid start to his rookie campaign. But it's really picked up of late. Each time I've recommended him against in a good matchup, he's come through with at least 8 points, which is not that's not hateful for a guy who's a minimum priced on FanDuel. And again, this week he's minimum priced. The Panthers have become a really good target for kickers because they're giving up the most passing yards per game. That's in large part because of that. We talked about the correlation between passing production and field goal attempts. And so that's what we're seeing here with the Panthers. Ignore Aguayo's previous performance against Carolina. I believe it was on Monday night. He missed 2 back-breaking field goals. I would say just pretend like that never happened. And if you really need to go minimum price to make your lineup work this week, especially cash, I would say, then I really like Aguayo as that minimum priced option.
Fair enough.
His splits, by the way, I'm sorry, I meant to mention this.
Go ahead.
He's had less than one field goal attempt per game in Tampa losses. He's had 2.7 field goal tries per game in Tampa wins, and they are favored this week against Carolina.
There you go. All right, so it's been an interesting week for all of us, and I'm going to give you the floor to address IPA Gate.
Thank you. I do want to address something. There's been a controversy, a PR nightmare, if you will, where I did a Periscope last night. This would be Wednesday night, in which I thought that I was showing the people how to drink an IPA. And so what I did is I actually just poured it into the sink. You can see this on my Twitter account at CDCarter13. I learned quickly after I recorded that Periscope that the IPA was not, in fact, an IPA. It was a Dale's Pale Ale. There's some difference. Anyway, that beer is gross, so I don't regret it at all pouring it out. I would pour out a 6-pack of that stuff if I had to, or if I had a 6-pack. But yeah, I was told it was not an IPA. I'm gonna pretend for a while like I meant to, like, well, all full body beer is disgusting, so I can't tell the difference. But mostly it was just a humiliation and really a stain on my family at this point.
I watched it before I knew it wasn't an IPA because I didn't know either. And I was laughing, and then I just start to see the comments rolling in on the Periscope, and I was like, "Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no."
I just got killed, and my wife knew, and she didn't say anything. Oh man.
But that's kind of what makes football Twitter and Denny Carter fun while we're losing our matchups. So as always, thanks for tuning in. And I had fun this year. I hope Denny did as well.
I did.
And as always, give us like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you want to check out this article, head over to dailyfantasycafe.com. And good luck this week, guys. And maybe we'll see you in the playoffs. And, then we'll, yeah. So we'll see you guys next week or something.
Just keep vamping, man. I do want to say, Russ, thank you for hosting this throughout the season, and
absolutely,
and for carrying me as I just babbled incessantly about what I had written that week and trying to steer me in the right direction. I need that. JJ on Living the Stream can tell you that I need that, and you have provided that. So thank you.
Awesome. Great to hear. All right, we will see you guys later.